Hey, my friends, and look who's here. Wes Wyatt. Man, does
What's
it
up,
does it get
guys?
oh man, does it get any better than this?
Well,
Well, okay, it could, I suppose. I was gonna say I was waiting all week to see your lovely face, but I see the feeling's not mutual, so we'll skip that one real fast.
absolutely mutual.
Oh, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, if I was any better, I'd be twins, and I can
Yeah,
talk without coughing. That in itself is a blessing.
that is an improvement. That's what, like 60 days or something?
Over
Man,
50.
was
Yeah.
it? Wow. Wow. Well, hey, welcome, friends. It's amazing. I just love travel and stuff. We'll talk about this maybe in a minute too. But yesterday, this time, I was on a plane somewhere over, I don't know, northern Georgia or someplace on the way back from Nashville. And maybe we'll chat a quick second about the love of shows and lives and all that kind of stuff in a minute. But as you probably are aware, my friend Wes Wyatt, who is my producer, director, friend, pal, brother, and everything else, uh, is with me today as a guest. Our friends from Western States Metal Roofing will be on again soon because you're going to love those folks. But they had a situation that, yep, there they are, that couldn't be overcome, and so we're going to try to redo that sometime in the next 2-3 weeks, I hope. So, but you'll love them folks. They're some great people. But so today, Wes decided he'd jump on with me, and we're going to chat about some fun, exciting stuff that we do together and that he does on his own more. And so, if y'all want to wait about what is it, about 7 seconds, Wes, because we got to run the bumper because it's just cool. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
There's something
Boom.
about that music.
It is. It is. It makes you want to build wins live, maybe, right?
It does.
Well, I don't even know why I say welcome because you're here all the time every week with me just behind the scenes. So, hey, Aaron Carpenter's #1 today. He beat everybody. Good job, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
I spent some time with Aaron this week. We dined one evening together. I can't remember the name of the place. Aaron, if you remember it, we can do a shout out to him. I know it was great, and I had their meatloaf. That's all I know because I'm a bit of a connoisseur of meatloaf. I don't think that's the right term because I don't know anything about it and how to make it, but I love it. But
And the great Meatloaf died today.
oh, he did, didn't he?
He
That's
did.
right.
So did
Yeah,
Louis
that's right.
Anderson.
And Louis Anderson,
Yeah, we lost a
meatloaf.
couple greats today.
We did. Speaking of meatloaf, I know there could be arguments about this, but in my opinion, he did one of the top 10 best renditions of a national anthem ever. I can't remember what that was, but he didn't take and change it because there's certain songs, I don't care what you do with it, make it your own. But that's just one of those songs that should be done the same way by the same people every single time, right? In my opinion. So it's Barry. Barry, what an NFBA show. Been a while since we had a show like this. He's correct. Barry and I were together also all this week at up in and about Nashville, shall we say, even including maybe a picture or two from a cigar bar. But it is what it is. It's what we do. So what's that? Oh, Dar, can't read it. I can't. I need
Dolphins.
glasses. Darfrums. Man, I'll tell you what. If you're ever in Nashville, I don't even know where it was, but it's in town, and some of the best food and drink. But anyway, so yeah, so we had a great show this week, Wes, and I know you were actively involved from your war room there, doing a lot of stuff for me behind the scenes, and I appreciate that, my friend.
Yeah, there was a lot of great videos being posted, a lot of just in general posts. Today, our friends over at MWI put out a real neat post of them in different colored sweatshirts, and
Oh yeah,
there's just been a lot of really really neat posts in general come from the show. And it was a lot of fun, kind of living vicariously through you
yeah,
guys, from back here in Ohio.
yep. Back in the snow belt now, right?
Yeah, but
Freezing
well,
cold.
not in this area, but boy, gosh, it was cold. I mean,
Ah,
just
that's what I see.
absolutely cut through you cold. But we didn't get the snow.
That's good. It was cold in Nashville. I mean, it was chilly in Nashville, as a matter of fact. But hey, Kirsten's on. You made it. Better late than never. Don't do that again. No, just kidding. Thanks for being here. So we had it was great. Before we get into talking some things I really want to chat with you about today. It was great to be back to a live show though. It's been a while. I had one several months ago, but several more coming up. I'm heading out this week or next week to be at a distributor show, which is a live buying show with distributors and all their dealers and customers, the Palmer Donovan show in Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm looking forward to that too. But I'll tell you that when you haven't done as many for a while, and especially when you're used to doing them like I've been,
Yeah.
uh, the vibe from the live show, the just not only just being on the show floor and talking to people, and the enthusiasm in our industry for this year is never been higher. It's just never been higher, I don't think. But the exciting part is just the vibe of walking through the show hall, walking through the show hotel complex, the pubs and the eateries, and just every step and a half, you're shaking hands with somebody else getting introduced to somebody that I mean, man, you can't beat that stuff.
If you are a road warrior like you and like me as well, I've been there, done that, and have the
Mm-hmm.
T-shirts and lanyards from many a show, both in the marketing side of the world and the signs and floor markings of the other side of the world I work in. There's I guess almost buzz,
Mm-hmm.
about it. You wake up and it's like the show on the TV, which is probably some sort of a travel CNN, or something like that, to going down and the breakfast you have and everything is all just like it's like a buzz that you don't feel with anything else. And regardless of what you think about shows, I mean, when it comes to whether you're talking about COVID or is it really, it never fails. The powers that be will say something like, do you really need to go, or can you do the virtual pass, or can
Mm-hmm.
you is it vital that you go? And the one thing about these live events that will never ever not be untrue is there's something about the hallway, breakfast, lunch, dinner, the bars afterwards, the connections and the just overall sidebars that you have with people is just, I mean, the nuggets and the magic and the deals and the epiphanies that are made just can't be mentioned. I mean, you have to go to one of them before you'll understand. You're probably, yeah, could you have got the information in a catalog, or watching virtual recordings of the event, you would get the essence of the show, but you wouldn't get the essence of the esprit de corps and the camaraderie of the customers
Right.
that you get outside the show.
Absolutely. And the other thing about it, Wes, is a great segue because you and I talk a lot about a virtual, right? Because we're pretty into that, and you're way into that. Hey, Zach's on. Good to see you, my friend. Um, but what we're seeing now, I think, and have seen, and is the augmentation of one over versus the other, right? They're not one or they don't have to be separate. I mean, they're separate, but you can do lives, and then you can also do virtuals. And if you can't do virtuals, or if you can't do lives, you can do virtuals. But you still have, I think there's a big place for virtuals. Like I was speaking about Palmer Donovan, a great distributor of mine, their show this week. I'm excited to be back to a live show with them. But for 2 years, I think for the last year and a half, we've done 3 or 4 virtual shows. From a success of the show, if you want to base it strictly, and those are buying shows, right? Their dealers come in, offer specials and deals and all those sort of things. Was it successful from a order taking standpoint for them and ultimately myself? Yes. But you missed what you said is all the buzz. You missed all the glad handing and the howdy
Yeah,
doing and the catching up. And so I think what I'm starting to see a lot of is people that have numerous shows a year, sometimes a little more in the distribution network than it would be in the manufacturer's world. But if they have 2 a year, I think they're finding over the past couple of years that we can do one virtual, and that works very, very well. It keeps the cost down a little bit. It exposure to whatever down a little bit, but it's just it's like you said, it never makes up for like I said, even the quick guy walks by your booth, he sees you're busy and reaches out and shakes your hand and says, "Hey, good to see you. We'll catch up." Like, that's way different than a quick text, right? And you and I both love virtual text and video and all that, but still, right? it's not the same.
Well, I can tell you, I've stood in, Columbus and, done the "can I scan your
Hmm.
badge" routine,
Yeah.
and that's great. There's nothing wrong with getting numbers and information, but at the end of the day, the person that comes up to you and says, "What's this?" and you
Hmm.
pull out, a piece of tape and say, "How much do you need?" to put it down and give it a try, and they're like, "Well, could I get, blah, blah, blah?" And you say, "Of course." Pull it out, cut it, wrap it up, and give them a, sticker that, tells them how to get a hold of you. And there's just something about that exchange that there's, again, the necessary evil of scanning badges and, or
Right.
getting the contact list, or, whatever whatever facility they have for it. It is nothing wrong with that. But the getting the product into the customer's hand and asking them, "What are you going to use this for?" and them saying this, and then you and I have something that pops up all the time. I'm playing guest and producer here,
Right.
Randy, but I always pop this up for you, which is the should ask questions.
Right.
So if somebody says, "Well, I want to use this, in a freezer," but I've always found that it pops up, because of the cold. And that opportunity to say, "Well, have you tried our freezer tape?" And show them, the difference in the adhesives and
Right.
the real information that you wish people would ask but don't, and that should ask question. And they leave with an option that is probably something they didn't even know they were going to ask to begin with.
Right.
And I think that's the epiphanies and the beauty of a show, is that you're able to, like you said, glad hand. And I hope that people don't get offended by it, and I know you wouldn't because you do it. But I'm still going to shake your hand. Now, I'm not going to tell
Right.
you that when I'm done, if I put it out, especially if you put it out there, I'm going to shake it.
Right.
When you walk away, am I going to use the sanitizer? Probably,
Yep.
but especially before I shake someone else's hand, I don't want a cross pollination by accident. But there's just something about that literal handshake, hello and promise, especially from someone like yourself, Randy, because I know, especially in the Amish communities and some of the more rural places that you go, handshake is as good as a written contract.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
they believe that, they, when you give that to them, it's almost like Rumpelstiltskin when the first born type thing.
Right.
So they expect it. They hold you to it. So, but
Yep.
yeah, I think a live show rocks.
It does. It does. And actually, the Dixie chick, she asked me. I told her one morning I got up. I said I must have slept on my shoulder wrong because it was hurting. And she said, "What? You shaking too many hands?" I said, "Well, I shook a lot of them." But you're right. As funny as used to be, even during like cold and flu season, after a handshake or two, I still squeeze the hand sanitizer because I don't care what it is. I don't really want to get sick. But the funny thing that's just how things change. You could literally shake hands with the guy and squeeze it in your hand while he's still standing there, and he doesn't find any offense to that, right? He's like, "Can I have some of that too?" It's it just times change, right? But so
Well, I still shake hands. I went to my Aunt Pearl's memorial this morning, and
right.
that there was a pastor and the funeral director there, and I wasn't going to not shake their hands. I mean,
Mm-mm.
they basically handled the last remaining tribute to my aunt.
Right.
I mean, I'd have done a hug with them if I'd have thought it wasn't going to be awkward. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that I'm always going to open doors, push in chairs, and shake hands and say yes sir and no ma'am. I mean,
Yep.
it's just when those things become antiquated and they go the way of the dodo, I hope I go with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I exactly. We just need to be back to that. And we were at this show. Believe me, this show was. I don't the beauty is I don't think that nasty C word, P word, COVID pandemic, all that. I don't even think it hardly ever got brought up. I mean, everybody was like, business is great, great to see everybody. Let's just go make stuff happen. So that was a beauty. But so the real purpose of today is let's talk about iEureka. iEureka and westwyatt.com and for anybody that that watches this that doesn't know, which They probably should, but listen better if you don't. Wes Wyatt, besides being a great friend and pal and brother and everything else, this is what he does. He's a pro. You can see the background. That's not a made-up background. That's not virtual. That's where he does a lot of his work back there. As he calls it, the infamous war room. Um, Wes and I are working a lot of other things together too right now that'll be forthcoming in 2022 and beyond. And so my point is, Wes is your pro at this, and you'll do a lot of these kind of things. So I think people will really enjoy hearing some of the stuff you do, your thoughts about what you do and why you do it, and really just the stage is yours for a minute. Of course, you're the director, so it's always there because you can cut me off anytime you want. So,
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm not going to bump you off. Uh, iEureka come about because I actually started off with the LLC of Paw Planet, like Animals Paw,
mm-hmm.
and it was going to start off from a missing cat poster. Have you seen me? Is what started the whole process back when the kids were little babies, and that Paw Planet eventually kind of was one of these things where people would say, what is that? What's the meaning behind that? And then it didn't really have the same sort of a meaning anymore. So I eventually, moved over to I like Archimedes' story about lowering into the bathtub, and when the water spilled over, he screamed, "I have found it," which is Eureka.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they learned how to weigh the king's crown, was lowering it into a submerged bucket that was to the top, and then they would weigh the water that spilled out to know how much the crown was worth. So the eye of it is essentially just the online version of inspiration, if you will. It's inspiration made simple, which is pretty much the overarching concept that I try to do, is take things like this that are, complicated in many ways, and try to simplify it for myself and for the clients to where I kind of take the hard part out, so that in your case, normally I would be in another spot, in a back room, what we would call a green room. You and the client would be talking, our guests, and the information would be popping up on the screen. The websites would be showing up. The different comments would be showing up, and you or the client don't have to do anything whatsoever. So that really is the whole idea that I try to do, Randy, is make technology and all the stuff that you see behind me easy for the person. I've said this to you many a times. I'll tell you again in the future. You have to take Wes out of it. It's not about me when we're on these things. I happen to be your guest today, but it's all about my client. I try to do everything that makes their job the easiest. You don't ever want to throw that person. I'll give you a perfect example. Yesterday, you asked me to send a client a recording, that
Mm-hmm.
you had, and you said, "Will you send it to their LinkedIn Messenger?" I did that, and I got a message saying, "Wes, in the future, can you please not send anything to LinkedIn, as I don't hardly ever check this, use this." And I didn't say, "Well, Randy told me to do it."
Yeah.
I said, "Absolutely." And the reason why is because why?
Right.
You
Right.
don't do that. And that's why, I didn't want him saying, "Hey, thanks a lot for, you know, Wes balling me out."
Yeah.
There,
Right.
it was just easier to say no problem. I
Yep.
mean, and
Yep.
that's what I think everyone should do, is try to make the person that you're working for feel like they are the most special thing that you have, like you're their only client, you're their only concern, and that it's starting to rain, and if you're working on them, you're the third monkey. you know
Yes. There
you
you
know
go. Love it.
I want to make the arc. I don't want to be the one left behind. So
I do feel like
um,
he just called me a monkey, but that's okay. We'll let that one
I'm the
pass.
monkey. I'm the monkey. But
Well,
yeah.
you know, I can tell you one thing, and I think it plays well here with what we do together. But in all aspects of life sometimes, right? Is you got to know when to not do the stuff you don't know what you're doing. And in this area, I had a vision of what I wanted to do, and a lot of that vision comes with working with you, in a lot of ways. But uh, directing my self-directing, you do a lot of shows yourself, for your clients and your own, which we may talk about if you want in a few minutes.
Yeah.
One of your really great podcasts that I love, but you're a pro at that end, so you can do your own producing, directing, and guesting, or excuse me, hosting. Uh, I don't have near the, I mean, I don't near, I'm not even in the same planet of abilities to do all that technical stuff. And then I can guarantee if I even tried, you know, somebody could tell me, well, you have this F4 will pop this up when you want it and all that. But instead of focusing on what we're talking about, thinking about, I want to circle back to that in a minute, whatever the case may be, engaging the guest, I'd be sitting here going, huh, what button did he say? Looking at a note, I mean, that I would wander like a squirrel chasing a nut, right? So it's the key to me is on a lot of things is if it's an area you're not really an expert in and not good at, and you can do it, man, sometimes you just need to. I say hire because you work with me, but hire the expertise, right? And I look at that as we work together, but you know what I'm saying. I get the point across.
One of the worlds that I work within is factories and facilities, and we have something in this area that is called ISO, and in that area that's ISO, not in this area, and it essentially is at the most high level version. It's making sure that you document your job
Mm-hmm.
to where if theoretically you weren't there, even though they may not have your expertise by any means, they should be able to pick up that manual. And if they follow it, theoretically, they should be able to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, keep in mind, some jobs are going to be much more intense than others, but that ISO idea is, basically being able to verbalize via written word. This is what I do step by step by step. So, like we were speaking offline, Randy, it goes way beyond popping up a comment from one of the clients or one of our viewers. It also includes a myriad of steps that go into it. And then one of the things we were speaking about offline was you were live and in Memorex, which dates us. I know you know what I mean,
Yeah.
but when you put that post out there on, say, Facebook and LinkedIn, and then I go through and I double out that post by making sure that your name is highlighted, because you're trying to do this from your phone, so you're
Right.
not highlighting your name, you're not highlighting the client, you're not highlighting the Gaylord Center, you're not highlighting the expo that you're at, and you're not highlighting something else. Okay, so let's say there's 3 to 5 different things that need to be highlighted and recognized in that post. That one post now goes exponentially reached to not only the location, which was the Gaylord, the National Frame Building Association that actually put on the expo, you as being the interviewer, the client as the person you're talking to, and there was probably something else going on at the same time. So now we have all these people coming through and sending us likes and comments saying thank you for this, thank you for that, and they're just now seeing it. And at some point, it won't happen from just that event. It happens in doing it all the time, where we do, if we're talking to in this case it was going to be the metal roof team. We would have promoted them, and we would have promoted each person in the group that we're talking to. So now 3 different people are being showcased on LinkedIn and their business. And that stuff, as you do it each week, just blocking and tackling
Mm-hmm.
creates what is a digital real estate that you couldn't stop if you tried after a while.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get it going, in the first several episodes. And maybe, this episode, it looks like, right now at this very moment, there's 3 people live, but there could be 10 people live, but it lives out there in, perpetuity. As long as we continue to put stuff out, they might go back and say, oh, that I know that group. Let me hear what Randy talked to them about. Or we may have somebody on like, the sales doctor, who you spoke with at the show, oddly enough.
Right.
And Marvin may have fans out there that say, well, I've probably watched everything that Marvin's done, but I want to watch what Randy did with him. Maybe there's a nugget in there I missed or
Right.
something. And then that digital real estate just continues to grow and grow. But if you were to look at that ISO version of me explaining how to do all the things that I'm doing in the background, and the different collateral with building the images that you see on all the posts every day, and getting the bumpers done, and get all the little things that go into making what looks simple not simple. It's actually pretty flabbergasting. uh, you
Yep.
know and that's why you hire somebody. It's that old adage of Picasso in the park. He jotted up a quick little image, and the guy said, how much? And he said, like, $10,000. He said, it took you 30 seconds. He said, no, it took me 80 years.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that, your knowledge, when you go in and you're doing something for a client, that's the road warriors, entire time that's out there, not that 5 minutes you spent with them.
Right.
So that's why I really like the like you said, if there's something out there that you can have someone else kind of take the reins on, do it, because it just makes life so much easier.
Exactly. So the Eureka is it's the envelope, the umbrella, I guess, a better term of everything you do, right? Is that, do I have that
Yeah,
correct?
that's just I do more under weswyatt.com than I do
Okay.
anything, Randy.
Yep.
But Eureka is like if I had to give like a name, to what I do things under, it would be that. My other side of the world, the reason why I know about ISO and OSHA and all the different things is I am the marketing director for Mighty Line Tape. So anything that has to do with distancing or directions, or basically anything that has to do with signs and safety in a shop, we probably have had some sort of if nothing else, I'm sure they've looked at my line, just because it's an industry, especially with our recent pandemic, with
Right.
little dots that say stay here, and
Right.
go this way and only go that way, and all that kind of stuff. It's been a kind of a fall backward into a good industry to be in, as bad as that sounds.
Right.
During a pandemic, when you're selling safety tape and signs, it's kind of like being an umbrella salesman when the tsunami hits. uh,
Yeah.
you know, you know, I hate to, benefit from other people's ill will, but it was a good industry, and is a good industry to be in.
Right. So you you do some podcasting on your own, quite a bit of podcasting,
I
guesting
do.
on other shows. Um, and I know if you want to pop it up, please feel free. I apologize. It's been a long week. I forget the name of your podcast. I watch it every time, but tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I do too,
Yeah.
myself. One is extremely untouched, and needs to have some TLC, called Off Topic on Purpose.
Right.
And then the one that you're talking about is Market You First.
Right.
And the entire moniker and idea of Market You First is I coach people to sell themselves, not what they sell.
Pop that up
Uh,
if you want to, Wes. Feel free. So anybody watching or on replay can check you out if you want to pop it up.
I will.
Okay.
I will put that up, and you can go here, and everything is on
Okay.
that site. With the podcasting and pretty much anything, Wes. But the other one that I do that is probably my baby is for the safety industry, and it's called Warehouse Safety Tips. And this week was episode 109, so 109 weeks in a row.
Okay.
So we're over the 2-year mark into season 3. And everything that I do, Randy, whether it's the warehouse safety tips, market you first, off topic on purpose, or if I'm doing stuff with you in some sort of a podcasting capacity, almost everything is kept extremely short, sweet, and to the point, so that people can kind of ingest it very, very bite sized, but get like a power packed idea to, if nothing else, have like an epiphany. And the one that I used this week as an example was the how many days since an accident sign that you see in locations. That sign isn't just there to crow about the fact that, let's say you're lucky enough to be in triple digits, and it says you haven't had an accident in 150 days. Okay. It's also there so that as you walk by it every day, and at lunch, and when you're getting a soda, and when you're leaving at night, that you see that and you think, oh, I'm supposed to be safe.
Right.
And I honestly believe that there is a subliminal side to that sign as much as the crowing of, hey, good job, you haven't
Mm-hmm.
put your finger in a machine, or you know fallen down or slipped, or something like that. It's much more of a reminder to go out there and be safe, than it is either a attaboy if it's high numbers, or a shame on you. There, we haven't had an accident in one day, thanks Tim, or
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Right.
I think it's there more to like give you that, hey, I need to be safe. So the little podcasts that I do are just that. It's that, hey, do you check your fire extinguishers? They're going to save your life or greatly disappoint you. Yeah, it's going to be one or the other.
Right.
And wouldn't you rather it be the save your life? So if you haven't had those checked or tested, or wherever the case may be, let's do that this week. And
Mm-hmm.
it's always something like that. So
Gotcha.
it's not a an amazing epiphany of oh my God, I can't believe Wes talked about that. It's more of a, hey, oh, yeah, we should do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's those things that you forget, and I try to remind you.
Perfect. Perfect. So your podcast, the marketing you first. Uh, that's the one thing I really want to chat about, because that
Sure.
is a very, very good one. I highly recommend it to anybody that's in the world of trying to make a living, right? Because it really shoots towards everybody, whether you're an independent type person or you're working for a company. There's something there for everybody. So, tell us about that a little bit.
Well, the whole idea, Randy, is kind of like when you're in an airplane, and the oxygen masks drop. Okay,
Mm,
you can't help yourself if you're or someone else next to you if you're expiring. So you need to put that mask on first, and the market you first is, don't go out there and be let's say, I always use this as an example, but like Avon, there's that one person when you were growing up that when they come, they're called the Avon lady. Okay. But
mm-hmm,
her name was Janet, you know?
mm-hmm,
So what happens, and it hasn't and probably won't, but what happens if Avon goes away? So does Janet, because nobody knows her as Janet.
right,
Okay. I mean, everyone knows her as the Avon lady. All right. So, and she is, the first, last, and only person that people think about when they're buying Avon. And that's great. If you make yourself a brand nomer, which, if you guys know that term, great. If you don't, it's essentially I thought I had one sitting here. I always use it as an example. So this is a cotton swab.
mm-hmm,
Okay. Now in this particular case, this is a Q-tip.
mm-hmm,
They've done such a great job over the years that people say, will you go get me a Q-tip? They don't say, go get me a cotton swab.
right,
Most people don't. Okay. They
right,
say, go get me a Q-tip. And the reason why is because Q-tip has done such a great job over the years of marketing themselves that they've become a brand owner. And find these all over the place.
well,
Well,
Kleenex is a great example, right? When the
Kleenex is
when
facial tissue.
yeah, when the Dixie chick tells me to pick some Kleenex, at Publix, she doesn't care if it's Kleenex brand. It could be
Right.
Publix brand, it could be any brand, but I know what she means is a tissue, right?
That's right.
And
You
so,
don't say, get me a facial tissue. You say, get me a Kleenex,
right.
and the ideas go on and on and on with that. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like, you don't call a car service, you call an Uber,
Right.
and when you hit that brand number idea and that concept, then you are, doing a great job, no doubt about it. But what happens if at some point you and I want to make sure that we're getting everybody in here. We got
Yeah.
Tim
Yeah.
and
Tim
we've
popped
got
up.
Barry, and yes, people Randy still buys Avon. It's funny.
That's why I have such better hair than you, Barry.
I've got an Avon product right here sitting at my desk. I black suede's my jam, but it is. I like it. It smells good to me. But and probably the reason I use Avon as an example. But if you become the person that when somebody is going to like, and I think this is probably the best example is when you go to buy a car as a kid, your dad would always say, "We're going to go talk to my friend Steve, blah, blah, blah." He didn't say, "We're going to go talk to a car salesman." He said, "We're going to go talk to this guy." And that guy was your dad's go-to guy on cars. Okay. And you
Right.
knew if you were going to buy a family car or, something, they would always say, "Go to this guy." Okay. Same thing happens with a mechanic. Same thing happens with a hairdresser. And, that Avon lady is probably, that where that starts to turn. But if you become the person that is the brand owner of what you do, rather than the flip side where the product is what they associate, and oh, by the way, Randy just so happens to be the rep. That's not where you want to be. You want to
Right.
be, you're buying Randy, you're buying the handshake, you're buying the fact that when the phone rings, I answer. When the email comes through, you get an immediate response. I'm going to, be the guy that knows your children are graduating, not because it's in a file of facts, but because I actually like them.
Hmm.
I'm going
Right.
to drop what I'm doing because of them. And when you're sick, I feel bad because not because I'm losing business, but because my friend is sick. Oh, and by
Hmm.
the way, I also sell XYZ. You
Right.
know, that's where you want to be. And for me, if I can go through with market you first and teach that concept again of coaching people to sell themselves and not what they sell, then it doesn't matter if anything happens to the industry that you're in. People will always go to you and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" So and that's uh, Kirsten, you couldn't be more right. I buy from
Right.
Randy, not I buy X from Randy. I buy from Randy. And that is the kind of concept and the kind of um, like place that you want to land.
Right.
With that. If you do
And
that, you're going to find yourself just absolutely loving life. And having people that are evangelistic. For what you do. Down the road.
Kirsten, thank you, by the way, for that. And it kind of struck me as when you was talking about that as a little bit of a concept, and I think it's very similar. Is I sometimes make a note to myself when I'm thinking about things, and I just write Randy, comma INC. Right? I don't have anything that says Randy Inc. But that's the way I think about, and I think that's along what you're saying, right? It's always got to come. You got to start there, and it's easy for me. And this, I'm going somewhere with this. It's not like one of our off-camera conversations where you don't have no idea where I'm going. Uh, if you're an independent like I am, running a rep agency, I'm obviously marketing Randy Inc. Right? I'm Randy first. What about folks that maybe are working for a company? So they obviously are working for Billy Bob's Metal, right? But how do you can still market yourself within that concept? Correct, or am I wrong?
No, and I'll give you two examples from the same industry that I adore. One is our mutual friend Eric Bam.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, Eric, his last name isn't Bam. He has designed that first and foremost in our mind that I never call him Eric Burns.
Right.
He's Eric Bam, and he's not Eric Bam. He's Eric Bam.
Right.
And that
Right.
is the guy who you're going to get. He sells perfect crust pizza liners, but he doesn't come across to me as Eric who sells or Eric who reps perfect crust pizza liners. He comes across to me as an evangelist, a person that is going to go absolutely above and beyond everybody else for perfect crust pizza liners because he lives, eats, and drinks that industry. He
Right.
doesn't dabble in pizza, he lives in pizza. And Ramon De Leon from the Domino's Corporation is another one of those guys. I saw him speak in New York at Chelsea Pier for what was known as the Word of Mouth Super Genius conference, and got to hear the great Tony Shea, rest in peace, Tony, from Zappos, and it was neat to hear these people who were absolutely positively evangelistic about their company. Tony was one of the first people that did this. I heard that just someone the other day talking about this, but if you at the beginning of training at his company Zappos didn't like your job, he would pay you to leave. He
Really.
would say, this is not for you. Great, here is. And I think at that time it was $1,000 if I'm not mistaken. And he would just say, listen, drop training, I will give you a great reference. Here's $1,000 to bow out, and you're doing me a favor, because if you're not all in, I don't want you here. I want you to be on the phone evangelistic about these shoes. I don't want you ho hum. If you're ho hum, you and I aren't going to jive. So I know when I talk to Eric, I'm not going to get hey, perfect crust pizza liners. Hey, Wes, between you and I, they're not that great. It's not going to happen. It's
Right.
not going to happen. I get the evangelistic version. And to be totally frank with you, I think if he didn't like it, he'd bounce.
Hmm. I
So
agree.
yeah, I think, Randy, I absolutely think that you can still be the what's the way to call it? Let's call it a brand nomer ambassador.
Yeah.
Okay, you're still repping, that product, no doubt about it, but it's what you deliver with conjunction to that product.
Right.
So in conjunction to this awesome product, you're also going to get this, being all the stuff I told you about you.
Right.
You're getting a handshake. You're getting the, you know, I'm going to pick up the phone when you call. If I tell you something, it's a truth, as far as I know it to be.
Right.
I mean, that sort of thing. And if you can do that, I think that, yeah, I think that can absolutely exist.
So you come at one point in your life, and I'm going to circle back as we kind of get towards the end of this. We're going to start. We're going to go back to the start of your world. You were a road warrior. You were traveling the U.S., if not the world, and then you become convinced that you wanted to take more control of your life, right? More control of your personal time, more control of just you want to be Wes Wyatt. Um, Tell us just, I think, because I think it's an interesting story. If you could, in a couple 3 minutes of what caused you to make that decision to become your own man, if you will. That's not the right word, but to make that transition.
I went from child to man.
You did, and it
Uh,
was an amazing transition.
Yeah, no. The way that it started is very simple, Randy. I am one of those guys that, and when you hear about them, you roll your eyes because you're like, "There's no way that this is true." But when I lived in Daytona, one year, I think I had 6 W-2s that were all at the exact same time valid. Not that I'd had 6 that year. I probably had 10 that year, but I had 6 active W-2s one year because I was doing everything under the sun. I worked at I think it was 2 hotels. I worked at a place called TC's Top Dog, which was a real popular hot dog joint on the strip. The guy who ran TC actually hit the MTV gong one year with a string of hot dogs, for the I Want My MTV. And during spring break, he was that popular that they
Okay.
actually gave him a spot. A Baskin Robbins, a car lot where I basically drove around a brand new convertible Mustang among 1,000 convertible Mustangs that, for the kids to rent, and was doing private security at another place all at the same time. Okay.
Wow.
So, I've been there and I've done that world of, just general labor doing, security. Obviously I'm a larger than life guy. Um, but I then went from that to the corporate world, worked up from three different companies, from literally the call center into corporate world of, sitting in suits and boardrooms and the whole thing, through Midwest Micro and Verizon Wireless and BMW Financials, and then finally landed in the social media world, kind of digging that. And what happened was I went on a uh, field trip with my daughter, to Washington. When I come back, and what I thought was going to be, come in the office and talk to us about the trip, I was let go. And it was a bad time for it to happen. And I decided that that was it. I was going to work from home. And the reason I did it was because I wanted that freedom and autonomy, and just the control, where if it was meant to be, it was up to me, kind of a thing. So I knew that if I failed, it was my fault. And if I succeeded, it was my fault. Or, my doing.
Right.
And as I cough, this part is going to be extra important to note, and the coughing, and then other unfortunate situations. At September-ish, my mom actually blew her aorta, and ended up in the hospital for what ended up being 3 months, ultimately passing away in November, unfortunately. And it was completely unexpected. Uh, During that, right afterwards, I got sick, and as you know, was in the hospital, and have had since about 50 days of just mystery illness, where it wasn't COVID, it wasn't flu, it was just some general funk that, in all honesty, not to, sound funny, but the worst cold I've had quite literally in my entire life. And the beauty of that autonomy and freedom and all the stuff that I just talked about is, if I had been in a traditional job with those W-2s, as nice as people would want to be and as caring as they would want to be, at some point, Randy, people got to work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would have exhausted all my vacation time, all my sick time. I would have had to been on some sort of a short-term disability at best. And that's if it got accepted, or if they had it where you work. And then if all that wasn't enough, I'm spent now. I've lost my mom, my aunt, two great friends, and a cousin in the last 2 months.
Wow.
You know, back to back in 60 days, lost five very, very close people. And I remember when I was in the corporate world, I would wonder when people would come in, how many grandmas do you have? You know,
Right.
I, I understand, and I'm 100% compassionate here, but we're on like the ninth grandma this year. And then you would turn on the TV and see them at the Ohio State game, a la Ferris Bueller, catching a ball or something. But it's just one of those situations where I would have exhausted everything, and then been in a situation where not only would they have said, "Hey, you know what? We're with you. We sympathize, but your condolence days are done. Your sick days are done. Your vacation days are done. If you don't keep on the straight and narrow for the next, year and a half, we're going to have to bounce you. I mean, we need you here.
Right.
And I could have never ever done that had I not had the freedom and autonomy of being able to make the train stay on the track and on time. But Randy, I'll ask you, and this is not a humble brag, how many things fell out of place while I was sick?
Oh, none. I was just going to say, I'm glad you asked that because it being, our relationship, which the friend, pal, buddy, and brother is way more important than the business part of it. I was very aware of everything you were going through. Kirsten, by the way, said sorry for your loss there.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
so I was well aware, and you always kept saying, don't worry about it. I got things covered. And I said, look, don't worry about it. It's a show. It's some social media. It's not world ending. But you did it. Whether you did it at 3 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, you're right. It got done, and we never missed a beat. So officially, thank you for that. I know I have off here, but you
It
know,
was not in any way, shape, or form a fish for a compliment, but it
right,
goes back to something that I was talking about earlier, Randy, and that is when you make your clients, it just so happens you're a friend, but when you make your clients the star and the shining light and the only thing in your life that you are working on at that moment, and you let them know that, then I'm never going to have a problem down the road if you say, "Hey, Wes, this happened. Can we work on that?" I'm never going to have a problem with you because you know that if I tell you something that's the truth. Now,
right,
if I would have had excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, at some point, friend or not, you're going to say, "Hey, Wes, I gotta let you go."
right,
It's not because I don't like you. I sympathize with you, brother,
right,
but I knew that the train had to keep going. And whether it was Mighty Line, 5S Warehouse, any of the things that I do, I knew that the train had to keep running. And that is where that when you go from that W-2 mentality to a 1099 mentality where you're the head cook and bottle washer, and you got that freedom and autonomy. Freedom and autonomy is something that I would never in a million years have known just how absolutely fantastic I love it. But there's a double-edged sword to it. Freedom and autonomy is fantastic if you're organized. If
right,
you're not organized, freedom and autonomy can slit your throat with that
hmm,
same sword.
right,
Because there are chances to not do what you're supposed to do. If you keep the trains on track and on time, they run great. But when you don't, there can also be a collision. And the
yeah,
light at the end of the tunnel is a train.
exactly,
So you really have got to have the discipline to put all that stuff ahead and say, listen, sick or not, I'm going to get this taken care of. Many of the things that you and I did, quite literally, was getting done from a hospital bed.
right,
But the reason that I did it was because I told you I was going to do it, and
right,
that's all I had to know was that I told you I was going to do it, and you expected it to be done, and that's the agreement that we had as friends,
right,
and as business partners. So if you have that attitude, there's some people that would say, well, that will never work in a XYZ situation. I'm not looking to work with, a corporation where I have to clear, contracts for the next 6 months to work with somebody. I'm looking for the lower hanging fruit type people where I can keep that, that relationship where I shake a hand. And by the way, Randy, it goes the same direction. I've had to unfortunately get rid of people. In the
hmm,
last 2 years, I fired two clients.
right,
It wasn't because I didn't like them. It was because at the point that it actually happened, it just was not a fit for either one of us. And if it's not beneficial for both of us, then it's not beneficial.
right,
So that that autonomy and freedom goes into that too. I can choose who I work with.
right,
I don't have to do things I dislike anymore. But it also is it's the end of money. You have to know that when you say you're fired, that money's not coming in anymore, and you have to replace it.
right,
You can have that attitude, but you still have to pay the bills at the end of the day. So
right.
I mean, so I don't know. I think that if I had to give like one to all the stuff that we've talked about, it's essentially getting off your butt, whether it's a BUT or a BTT, and just saying, listen, I have this I need to get done, and this person needs it. If I can provide that, and help them where, they don't have to do it, it's a match made in heaven. And that, that's what I want to do.
Beautiful. Well, I can tell you, and that's it's a brilliant segue because we are getting close to probably enough people wanting to listen to us yabber for a while. Um, an interesting scenario this week, or right now, currently, we talked about it today or earlier today, is next week I'm at the Palmer Donovan show with my friends up in Cleveland, Ohio, which by the way is going to include some great pics and video, depending on what they allow, from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I say that maybe they don't allow any pictures or video. I have no clue, but I may sneak one. But anyway, going to be there as part of the show. But um, as it so worked out with flights, uh, I'm not going to be able to do the show live next week because there's the only way I could really get back home without waiting till Saturday, and I've been traveling a lot of travel anyway. Just I didn't want to do that, and so I remember I asked you. I said, so we just like I don't want to cancel a show, if we can help it. You want to keep some continuity, and the first thing you said was, "I got you covered, brother. Don't worry about it. I'll just jump on, do a few minutes, and have something to talk about, and we'll keep the brand of Building Wins live, right? Still rolling, whether I'm there or not." And I think that's um, the consistency is important. And the important part of what you just mentioned, and it was an interesting segue into this, is that you promised me when we did this that you'll do whatever you say you'll do, and we'll always make the show, and we'll build it and we'll grow it together. You could have just said, "Oh, well, that'll be a day off next week. I don't have to spend an hour behind
Right.
the controls," right? And just let it go. And I would have said nothing. We just wouldn't have done it. But you weren't going to stand for that because that's not what you told me, right? And
Well, that's
that's
not what we do. We're not
that's
going
not
to
what we
build
do.
wins sitting on our
You don't.
hands.
We're going to build
Yeah.
wins either way. We build wins because that's what we do, right? So, anyway, my brother, it's been anything you want to add before. You can stay through the end here. I'm obviously because you got the button anyways. I guess I'll stay to the end if you let me. Uh, Anything else you want to add before we talk about? We already talked about next week. The guest is you,
Yeah.
guest host, the host. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yes. Two things. One is if you guys did not catch Randy on all the remotes, then I highly suggest you go back on either Facebook. We are facebook.com/building wins. And then, of course, you can look up Building Wins on LinkedIn. But go back and watch the lives and watch the interviews and watch the look at the posts, look at the different social media, and know that you're talking about somebody. And the reason why the Randy 3.0 and 2.5 and all the different iterations of Randy have come about is because he is somebody that when everything went south and there wasn't glad handing and there wasn't lives and there wasn't meetings and there wasn't the face to face that was going on, Randy didn't hang up his spurs. Yeah, I mean, the same thing that we were talking about, the show's got to go on Friday. Randy said, I'm in this group of people that are doing video. How do I do video? How do I get out there when I can't get out there? And I told Randy early on, and we talked about this in our group. I said, Randy, there's going to be people that are onslaught. Think of the gym on January 3rd. Okay. Everybody and their brothers there. You have to fight. You got to write your name down on the wall to get on the machine. It's like the old days in the arcade. You have to put your quarter up on the screen for your
Right.
next play and everything. But in February, you could shoot a cannonball through there and not hit anybody. Okay. The Randy and the people, the before mentioned Eric Bam and the Tim Lords and the people, the Sean Lipbox and the people that we know that went out there and turned all these um, missed situations into opportunities are the people that when everyone goes back and they continue doing it, they're going to, just by pure being there, be the people, the influencers and the people that are being sought after for this industry. So I asked Randy, I said, of the thousands of people that you had there, how many people were doing video? And he said single digits, of people he saw doing it. And that's sad. We have these in our hand, okay, at any given moment, that at the very least, you always have it with you There's 0.0 reason why we shouldn't be seeing these videos and this digital versions of the Randys, the Steves, the Erics, the Wesses out there, being absolute evangelistic, crows for whatever it is that they're doing, and crowing from the rooftops about it. So if you're not doing that and you're not, taking advantage of all the different digital real estate that you can get out there and get working and quite literally get rolling to where you couldn't stop it if you tried, you're going to miss out and you're going to be very, very sorry. You're going to harken back to hearing this and go, man, that big bald guy was right. Second thing, next week, I'll be talking about a kind of a state of the union of what's going on with building wins, the concept. I'm just going to make a quick tease that Randy has not approved, but Randy and I are going to write a book together, and we're also going to write a book separate. So there's going to be 3 books coming out. You guys can bet on it because it's going to happen, or bet against us if you want, but it is going to happen. And I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about ways that you could possibly get involved in that process for the building wins portion of it, because we want to make sure that we kind of solicit the best information for that book to make sure that we're getting people's best wins. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll talk about that and many other things that are building wins live related when I take the helm next week.
Love it. Beautiful. Well, thank you for the kind words. Unexpected and appreciated. But yeah, next week I'm glad you're going to talk about that, because you again held my feet to the fire, and I thank you, because I've wanted to write a book for a long time, and writing one with you will be a blast. And each of us writing our own. And what you just did is you held my feet to the fire, because you just said it, and now you're going to talk about it next week. So I have no out now.
I'm going to talk it into existence, Randy. It is going to happen this year.
But the beautiful thing with that is, and I don't think we do that enough sometimes, is sometimes you just got to, I don't know if this quite fits, but I sometimes use the analogy of you got to climb up to the 83rd floor and jump off and learn to fly on the way down. And I just now officially became, not officially yet, but I just officially became an author, because I have to, because you just spoke it, so thereby it has to happen, right? Because that's what we do.
It's going to happen.
If you build wins, you do what you say you're going to do. So
if I don't write a book this year, friends, I will eat one on one of these broadcasts.
With or without a glass of Cabernet?
I got to have Cabernet if I'm with you, Randy.
That's true.
I think it's a prerequisite.
Yeah. So if you don't write it and I don't write it, you have the book. I will bring personally to your infamous war room, and we will eat the book with a glass Cabernet together.
One page at a time.
And we'll tell everybody that we basically made a commitment and we didn't fulfill it, so we're going to pay the price.
Keep the book small, though.
Yeah, we'll do about a page. We didn't say how long it would be. All right, folks. Hey, Wes, it's been, as always, it's great to chat with you. I appreciate taking the time. I know you got stuff to do, and I've got stuff to do. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this with Wes today. Check out weswyatt.live and weswyatt.com. Is that both the same, or yeah, both? Right?
They'll both go to the same place.
Okay. If you could use him for anything, man, I'll tell you what, world-class guy. I think you can tell that by just listening to him and seeing him from time to time on the show. And we got some other great things coming to place. We're talking all the time about this little train of the Building Wins Live brand, if you will, is not slowing down. It is going to speed up, pick up, and we're looking for input and guest ideas. And I know he'll talk about that again probably next week. But if there's anybody that catches this anytime live or on replay, which is where most people catch it, and I had somebody reach out today and said they'd like to be on the show. Always looking, if somebody can bring something of value, something of interest that we can talk about in or without the industry, without the industry. As you know, I'm kind of an industry-based guy, but we've had a lot of people on here that have nothing to do with this industry that we work and live in. But it doesn't matter. Most of these things all play upon each other. So if you want to be on, or know somebody that does, or lastly, have a subject that we haven't broached yet, we'd love to do that too. I mean, Wes and I know a lot of folks between the two of us, especially over the last few years, that we could probably find a pretty high level expert to come on and chat about something if there's something we've missed, or you just say, geez, I'd love to hear an hour's worth of this, whatever it might be.
I got
Even
a
if that,
guy, I know, or a girl.
we got people, we got folks. So anyways, that's it. You will see Wes next week at 3 o'clock Eastern, and then the following week we'll be back with a guest that we had to bump a few weeks ago because of some situations. Wes will hop him in next week, but Spencer Lund with he's a bit of a marketing guru himself, and he's going to be on to chat about a lot of fun, interesting things. He's become a good friend over the time, and you'll love him too. So other than that, look for a few videos next week from the Palmer Donovan show, and look for Wes next week Friday, and that's it. That's it, buddy. What else? We done?
Awesome. We're done.
Let's go eat. See you guys. Thanks all. Appreciate y'all. Wes, my friend. Thanks. Love you, brother.
Absolutely. I'll see
right,
you
folks.
later, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye.